Hello guys, this is your friend Uzumkai Universe 2.0 and we are back in new fanfic. What if Naruto became the Winter Soldier Part 1? In the shadow of the Valley of the End, the sounds of a battle could be heard. As the two individuals were fighting, Naruto was thinking as he dodged a right hook from Sasuke, I have to bring Sasuke-tem back, as I promised Sakura-chan. A thick red surge of chakra surrounded Naruto, shielding him from Sasuke's blows. The Avenger was then punched in the face by his friend and rival, and his blonde-haired opponent grabbed him with the crimson chakra in one hand, propelling him forcefully into the rough terrain. Sasuke slowly rose to his feet, muttering to himself, I am even more special than you, as the curse seal started to creep over his body. Sasuke, Naruto uttered, his voice muffled by the cloak. With blinding speed, Naruto charged at Sasuke, tackling him towards Hashirama's stony feet. Sasuke retaliated by slapping Naruto away with his cursed hand wing, creating a new one in the process. As Naruto regained his footing, the air crackled with tension. He looked at Sasuke with determination as he called forth a Rasengan, the chakra of the nine tails pulsing through its core. The air around Naruto shimmered with an otherworldly red glow, the intensity of the fox spirit coursing through him and the jutsu. With equal focus, Sasuke charged his right hand with a menacing black Chidori. As it crackled with lightning, the Chidori's menacing energy seemed to absorb the light surrounding it, casting a shadowy aura that contrasted sharply with Naruto's vivid nine tails chakra. In a breathtaking moment, the two friends turned adversaries and leapt at each other. Rasengan. Chidori. As the two incredibly potent attacks got closer to one another, it seemed as though nature and every tiny creature held their breath. As their deadly blows collided, the air itself appeared to tremble. A volatile energy crackled between them as Sasuke's black Chidori and the Nine Tails cloak Rasengan clashed violently. Naruto and Sasuke were engulfed in a swirling vortex of purple energy as both chakras unexpectedly began to merge. As it absorbed the opposing powers, the purple ball grew quickly and began to pulse with a sinister glow. The clash of light and darkness reached an unprecedented peak within this ethereal sphere. The once bright purple hue grew progressively darker until it completely covered the surrounding area in black. As the darkness took hold, an unexpected twist occurred. Within the black abyss, white light began to crackle, creating a stark contrast that illuminated the struggle within. The combining energies appeared to dance, fighting for dominance within the ever-expanding void. The Valley of the End was bathed in an eerie radiance as the black sphere continued to grow. A rift in space-time appeared with a loud explosion, and Sasuke was hurled away by its force, striking a nearby tree. A shattered and injured Naruto was visible at the center of the beaming tear, which was a chaotic fusion of cosmic energies. The tears gradually became brighter. During the fight, his right arm was severed, and numerous injuries marred his body. The tear grew until it swallowed Naruto, its glowing tendrils wrapping around him. The wounded ninja vanished into the ethereal embrace of the space-time rift, a silhouette in the radiant chaos. After a brief moment, Naruto vanished into thin air, leaving only the sight of his battle with his teammate and a mysterious energy coursing through the tear. The Valley of the End fell silent, the remnants of the clash lingering in the air. After a few minutes, Sasuke was able to recover from the explosion, but he was also injured, breaking his left shoulder and bleeding slightly as he attempted to look around. He looked everywhere, but he could not find his one and only friend, Naruto. He could not help but wonder where Naruto was as he stumbled to his feet and walked away. The destined child of prophecy vanished, as he would not be seen again in this world for a long time. Urgency gripped the air as Pakun turned to Kakashi, a sense of urgency in his eyes. I got their scent. They are not too far away, but we must hurry, he urgently directed Kakashi, with his keen sense of smell, to the location where Naruto and Sasuke were. They accelerated through the turmoil, and Kakashi, acknowledging the gravity of the situation, nodded as they approached their destination. Hope and fear battled within him. Upon arrival, the scene was one of chaos. Kakashi, with a heavy heart, scoured the disarrayed area for any sign of his two students. He turned to face Pakun, desperation clearly visible in his gaze. Do you pick up both of their scents? He pleaded, the weight of uncertainty settling in his chest. Pakun lowered his head and replied, I am sorry, Kakashi, but Naruto's scent has vanished, but Sasuke's scent is still present, but we should hurry before he crosses the border. As Kakashi received the heartbreaking news, his strength failed him. His knees gave way, and he sank to the ground, unable to comprehend the depth of his failures. A light rain started to fall, reflecting Kakashi's sorrow as clouds gathered overhead. As he faced the harsh reality of yet another setback in his life, he shed a small tear for not doing enough to preserve the legacy of his best friend and sensei. Kakashi thought, I failed both of you, Minato-sensei and Obito, please forgive me, as he raised his eyes to the pouring sky and spoke a silent prayer into the wet atmosphere. When Naruto crashed into the icy ground after tumbling out of the portal and onto the merciless snow, the light went out and the tear closed. A sickening thud sounded as the back of his head struck the unforgiving black ice below. He rolled over, moaning, where am I? Naruto had fallen unconscious, the snow beneath him reddened by the blood seeping from his stumped right shoulder. Scene change. Two fishermen saw something strange in the evening on January 1, 1944, in the middle of the quiet port of Fuzhou in northeast China, a dead body resting on top of the ice. They were walking toward Naruto, their breath visible in the -3°C air, curiosity mixed with caution. With a sturdy stick, one of the fishermen, a weathered man with a grizzled beard, poked the body cautiously. As he prodded, his face etched with uncertainty, a hushed whisper traveled through the icy wind. His companion, a younger fisherman with a weathered cap, looked on with furrowed brows. What is the matter, Takeshi? Takeshi paused, still poking the body. I don't know, Hiroshi, but we should check. Something is strange here. Takeshi tentatively reached down to check the body's vital signs. They were surprised to discover that the body was still warm beneath the frost layers. The fishermen exchanged wide-eyed glances as their breath caught in the crisp air. Takeshi muttered, it is warm, with a tone of disbelief. In this freezing weather, it shouldn't be. Hiroshi shook his head in shock, his eyes widening. Is he still with us? Takeshi nodded, more curious now than wary. We must take him to the hospital right now. Help me lift him up. As this is beyond our nets and hooks. Hiroshi joined Takeshi in closely inspecting the lifeless figure, bending down to help. They worked together to turn the body onto its back, hoping to learn more about its identity. However, as the face became visible, a profound shock swept over them, leaving Takeshi and Hiroshi bewildered on the cold ground. Passers-by came to a halt, their attention drawn to two fishermen carefully transporting a badly injured child with bright blonde hair to the hospital. As onlookers attempted to decipher how the boy in an orange jumpsuit had overcome the odds and survived the harsh climate, rumors started to spread. Upon arrival at the hospital, Naruto was swiftly ushered into a dedicated room, where the medical staff initiated their urgent procedures. Due to the young man's cold-induced hypothermia, the medical staff had to act quickly to raise his body temperature. The room was filled with the low murmur of doctors discussing tactics and the soft shuffling of nurses tending to their mysterious patient. Concern grew as the medical personnel addressed Naruto's missing right arm, skillfully closing the wound with practiced precision. Hot towels were carefully placed on his head in order to aid in his gradual recovery. One perplexed doctor, unable to comprehend why a young Western boy had suddenly appeared in the heart of Jilin province, said to the others, I will go and make a phone call, before quickly exiting the room. The unspoken questions surrounding Naruto's presence added an air of mystery to the already surreal atmosphere within the hospital walls and town. Otsutsuki no Yami. Regarding the fisherman's name being Japanese and not Chinese, that was my fault. In my initial draft, I had Naruto land in Japan instead of China, so I forgot to change their names to Chinese. After doing some more research, I scrapped the idea of Naruto landing in Japan and switched it to China. With that out of the way, let's let the word river flow as we chart the course of our narrative voyage. As a convoy of military jeeps rumbled to a halt, the midday sun cast a warm glow over Changchun Hospital. Dust settled around the vehicles as the lieutenant general, a stern figure in his uniform, stepped out with a determined expression. Armed guards wearing olive green uniforms surrounded the hospital entrance, securing the area. As the lieutenant general strode towards the entrance, his boots echoing in the quiet courtyard, he could not shake the gravity of the situation. Intel had led them to this hospital, where a Western child was supposedly under their care. A possible asset of great value or, as he had been informed, a possible danger to their nation. The lieutenant general entered the hospital and was led by a superior through sterile hallways, the sound of their boots clicking in the silent passageways. Upon reaching the assigned chamber, the lieutenant general inhaled deeply before pulling open the door. His eyes widened slightly as he took in the unexpected sight. On the hospital bed lay a young Western boy with odd features and strange facial marks that resembled whiskers. The lieutenant general, who was used to keeping his cool, was briefly taken aback by what he was witnessing. The whole thing seemed almost too good to be true. The lieutenant general, having composed himself, addressed the attending doctors and nurses. "I want to know as soon as he wakes up," he stated firmly. "Hi." They said this as the lieutenant general gave the kid one last look before leaving. Scene change. Kakashi walked back to the village, the failure of his mission weighing heavily on his shoulders as the shadow of the Hokage monument loomed overhead. His thoughts were clouded by the loss of his sensei son, and sadly, Sasuke was able to cross the border, preventing Kakashi from pursuing. As the village gates loomed ahead, Kakashi's steps slowed, his heart constricted by the weight of the news. Tsunade and Sakura were waiting tensely for him to return at the gates. Tsunade's eyes flickered with hope as she peered out at the horizon, certain that she would see Naruto's familiar, sun-kissed blonde hair. Inner Sakura wondered where Sasuke was, doubting Naruto's promise to return him to her arms. Tsunade's voice broke the awkward silence. "How did the search go, Kakashi? And where is Uzumaki Naruto?" She looked around for any sign that her favorite missing shinobi was nearby. With a hint of hesitation visible in his one visible eye, Kakashi hesitated. With deliberate word choice, he questioned, Lady Tsunade. "I believe it would be best to talk about it in your office." In a subdued request for a more private setting, he gestured toward the Hokage Tower. Tsunade's eyes narrowed at Kakashi as her suspicions increased. Her face became serious as she nodded after pausing calmly. "Dismiss Sakura, and let us talk," she ordered, then gestured back to her office. Sakura, who had been listening in on the conversation, looked from Kakashi to Tsunade, then quietly bowed and left. As Kakashi and Lady Hokage began walking back to her office, the air was thick with unspoken concern. Inside the Hokage's office, as Tsunade and Kakashi settled into the uneasy silence that surrounded them, the air in Tsunade's office became heavy. The Hokage watched Kakashi's strange behavior with dread in her stomach. The absence of his usual coping mechanism, the Ika Ika book, only intensified her unease. Tsunade quickly dismissed her guards as the door clicked shut, her eyes flashing with concern. Swiftly, she made a barrier by swerving through hand signals so that no one could overhear their conversation. She returned to her seat and fixed a stern gaze at her silver-haired subordinate. "Kakashi, tell me, where is that traitor and Naruto?" Usually firm and authoritative, her voice exhibited a slight tremor, reflecting the tightness in her chest that indicated uneasiness. "I do not know," Kakashi admitted, sighing heavily. His visible eye reflected Tsunade's growing apprehension. Tsunade slammed her hand against the desk, her rage erupting and echoing throughout the room. What do you mean you do not know where either of them are? Anger and desperation mixed together in her command. Kakashi began his report by recounting the mission's failures, Sasuke's escape, and Naruto's mysterious disappearance. As he spoke, Tsunade felt her emotions churn like a rough sea. She felt the burden of accountability and the anguish of yet another possible loss of a family member heavily on her shoulders. She said nothing, taking time to absorb the harsh reality that was being thrust upon her. Tsunade said with forced composure, barely masking her sorrow, "You can leave, Kakashi." Feeling helpless and heartbroken, Kakashi bowed his head and turned to walk away. Please be okay, Naruto, and return to the village, was all they could think about as Kakashi left. Tsunade was left to deal with her sorrows alone as the massive wooden door shut behind Kakashi. Her sobs rang out across the village, signaling the death of yet another relative, another soul taken by her cursed necklace. Inside the Changchun hospital, slowly awakening in a disoriented haze, Naruto instinctively shielded his eyes from the intrusive brightness with his left arm. The stark white surroundings welcomed him, and he could not get rid of the question, "Am I in a hospital?" He looked around the room and tried to get up, but something felt off in his chest. His gaze lowered, revealing wires connected to unfamiliar machines displaying blurry images. Where am I? He wondered in his mind. Bachan, where am I at? I need to leave to stop Sasuke and return him to the village, as I promised. As footsteps approached, Naruto yelled urgently, and a nurse, startled by his awakening. Naruto began to panic when he saw the unexpected nurse, as he was expecting to see Tsunade or Shizune. He screamed, terrified, "Who are you?" The nurse called for assistance to calm him, and more staff members rushed inside the room to subdue him. As Naruto tried to free himself, a nearby doctor used a syringe to inject him in the right thigh, causing drowsiness, after which Naruto collided with the pillow. Sophie, go notify the lieutenant, the doctor ordered, taking a deep breath after the altercation. Following orders, Sophie set off in search of the commander. The staff was surprised by Naruto's quick recovery, as they had expected him to be bedridden for a few weeks. Instead, he woke up in just one day. As a result, the doctor immediately ordered blood tests and screenings to be done on the unusual patient. In the dimly lit jeep, Lieutenant General Tanaka was buried under a mountain of paperwork, the only source of light coming from a flickering overhead bulb. His brow furrowed in concentration as he sifted through the reports. Suddenly, a movement caught his attention, and he looked up to find the nurse, Sophie, standing by the window, her silhouette outlined against the darkness outside. Lieutenant General, the patient has regained consciousness, she announced, breaking the night's silence. There was a trace of surprise in Tanaka's otherwise stern expression, but he nodded. He paused for a moment before declaring, "You are dismissed." She bowed before leaving. After getting his Hanyang 88 bolt-action rifle out of the jeep and entering the hospital, Tanaka saw that Naruto was being watched and ordered that he be taken to a private room for questioning. Gradually, Naruto felt his consciousness slowly resurfacing from the depths of unconsciousness. As the dense fog of general anesthesia started to lift, he became aware of a steady, silent beeping sound. He had to squint against the haze to see that he was placed in a cold chair in a well-lit room with white walls. "I see you are awake." Naruto's eyes snapped open at the sound of the voice, his senses immediately on high alert. He turned to see Lieutenant General Tanaka sitting across from him, a commanding figure in the lit room. Lieutenant General Tanaka sat across from Naruto, his eyes fixed on him. The atmosphere was tense. "Start talking, Westerner. Where do you come from, and why are you in Jilin province?" Tanaka demanded in Japanese, his voice harsh. Confusion clouded Naruto's expression as he struggled to make sense of his surroundings. "Who are you?" With a hint of fear in his voice, he shot back, "And where am I?" The revelation of Tanaka's identity did little to ease Naruto's growing unease. "Lieutenant Colonel Tanaka. And you are in a secure facility," Tanaka reiterated, his words heavy with implication. "Now, explain how you ended up in Jilin Province. West Ner. Naruto said in a confused tone before he shook his head and replied, I don't really know. The last thing I remember is that I was fighting Sasuke, and then, here. And I must find him and return him back to the Leaf Village," Naruto replied back in a broken mix of Japanese and English. Tanaka raised an eyebrow. "You're not making any sense. How did you end up here in northeast China?" he asked, his suspicions rising. Naruto, sitting on the cold metal chair that chained him to the ground, looked around nervously. "I already told you, I don't really know. I was fighting my teammate, and then all of a sudden I arrived here," he insisted, his voice wavering with a mixture of fear and frustration. Tanaka leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "You think I am going to buy that shit? Who are you working for?" he asked, getting more insistent in his tone. Naruto started fiddling with the material of his hospital gown as he started to feel the pressure. "I swear, I am not sure how I ended up here. I just want to go back to the Leaf Village and fulfill my promise," he pleaded. "Leaf Village? Don't play games with me, boy," he growled. Naruto shifted uneasily. "I am from the Hidden Leaf Village. I'm a shinobi," he admitted, causing Tanaka to raise an eyebrow in disbelief. "You're a ninja," Tanaka scoffed. "What's a ninja doing in Imperial China? What kind of nonsense is this?" Lieutenant General Tanaka pounded his fist against the metal table, losing patience. "Enough of your lies. Was it the West who sent you here?" he barked, the room echoing with the intensity of his voice. Beads of sweat started forming on his forehead as he struggled to maintain eye contact. "I told you, I don't know how I got here." Tanaka became so enraged that he threw himself forward and grabbed Naruto by the gown's collar. "You're hiding something, and I intend on finding out what it is," he snarled, a glint of violence in his eyes. Tanaka's grip grew tighter, and Naruto winced. "I don't have anything to hide," he cried. "Leave me go," but was quickly struck across the face for his resistance. Naruto was pushed back with a backhand as Tanaka's violent, intense interrogation began, and blood was seen dribbling from his mouth's corner. Naruto was brutally questioned for several hours before he finally gave in and began telling the Lieutenant General everything he knew. Naruto was visibly distressed as he struggled to explain the complexities of his world. "Shinobis are capable of amazing feats in my world. We use chakra for jutsu, techniques like walking on water and summoning powerful creatures," he explained. His words were met with skepticism. Tanaka, still questioning the legitimacy of Naruto's story, leaned back in his chair. "Summonings. This is ludicrous," he muttered. The Lieutenant General, eyes narrowed and arms folded, remained unconvinced. "Prove it then. Demonstrate that you're truly a ninja from another realm," he challenged, his tone laced with doubt. While Naruto honestly did not want to demonstrate, he knew that if he didn't, he would be imprisoned or, worse, killed, so he relented as the Lieutenant General released the restraints that bound him. Naruto could not help but feel uneasy as he stood up, rubbing his sore wrists and stretching his arms. The Lieutenant General's stern expression and the menacing weapon in his hand as it was aimed directly at him. While Naruto did not know how that long weapon could hurt him, he didn't want to find out either. With newfound freedom, Naruto walked towards the nearest wall. His chakra was directed toward his left foot as he drew closer, taking a deep breath. Sticking his foot against the wall, he defied gravity with a fluid motion. Upon observing Naruto's corpse remain pressed against the wall, the initially silent Lieutenant General raised an eyebrow. Naruto covered his right foot in chakra as he proceeded with his demonstration, and he easily climbed the wall. The lieutenant general's doubt turned to disbelief as he watched Naruto ascend, and the room fell silent. The young ninja went higher and higher, defying gravity until he was standing on the ceiling. Hanging from the ceiling, Naruto toyed with the idea of conjuring a legion of shadow clones within the tight quarters of the room. However, a sense of caution rooted in rationality held him back. Naruto knew he was at a significant disadvantage because he was unaware of his captor's capabilities, and he was also aware of the high security measures that surrounded him. As a result, he dismissed the idea. He knew that even if he could persuade the Ninetales to assist him, it would be foolish of him to take on an unknown force alone without knowing what they were capable of. Uncertain of the power and skills of this world's inhabitants, Naruto opted against risking it all. Tanaka's jaw dropped open in shock at what he was witnessing. Perplexed by Naruto's upside-down position on the ceiling, he muttered, "What the?" After a few more hours of questioning Naruto about his extraordinary techniques, the lieutenant general left before chaining him up. Naruto cursed himself for sleeping through an interrogation lesson back at the academy, which came back to bite him in the ass. Additionally, it occurred to him that Kakashi had made the foolish choice to prioritize tree climbing over equipping his genin for situations like this. General Li Jia, dressed in a resplendent military uniform, stood before Mao Zedong, the revered chairman of the Communist Party of China, and politician in the lavish chambers of Imperial China. The atmosphere was serious as the general prepared to deliver his report. "Sir," the general said respectfully, bowing his head, "I come before you with critical information obtained from the patient we discovered." Lieutenant General Tanaka conducted a thorough interrogation, and the revelations are both extraordinary and confounding. Mao Zedong, a figure of imperial authority, nodded with measured acknowledgement, allowing the general to proceed. The general started cautiously. "The patient, Uzumaki Naruto, claims to be a ninja from another world. He showcased exceptional abilities, defying the laws of the mortal realm. Walking on walls and standing upside down on the ceiling were two of his otherworldly abilities." The courtiers present muttered in disbelief. The general continued, "His language is odd, a blend of English and Japanese, and he insists that he hails from a realm where individuals wield extraordinary powers, manipulating a force known as chakra." Mao Zedong maintained a stoic expression as he took in the information. In addition, he says he is a vessel for the nine-tailed fox, a strong entity that is sealed inside of him. This entity, known as a Biju, is a powerful force in his world capable of destroying mountains with ease, the general added, summarizing Naruto's claims. The Grand Hall fell silent, the weight of the information palpable. As he acknowledged the seriousness of the information, Mao Zedong quietly conferred with his advisors. "General, please report what we found to Arnim Zola. With our strong relationship with Hydra, we could have our own super soldier to utilize in fighting the enemies of the Chinese Communist Party," Mao Zedong said imperially. The general's eyes widened at the mention of Hydra, an organization notorious for its covert operations and pursuit of cutting-edge technologies. He acknowledged the emperor's command with a deep bow. "As you command," General Li Jia assured, his voice a mix of determination and reverence. Mao Zedong gave the general one final nod, at which point the general turned to obey the command. The prospect of using the potential of a super soldier to serve the great Imperial China added a new layer to the geopolitical landscape, which the general welcomed. In a lit laboratory hidden deep within the mountainous terrain, Arnim Zola, the brilliant scientist and Hydra operative, sat in front of a bank of computer terminals. The soft hum of machinery filled the air as Zola monitored Hydra's covert operations. A Hydra operative approached, holding a formal letter sealed with the insignia of Northeast China. Zola looked up from his work, his glasses reflecting the glow of the computer screens. The agent, with a precise salute, handed over the letter. "Dr. Zola," the agent said with a practiced formality. We have received communication from our allies in Northeast China regarding a person of interest to the Super Soldier program. Accepting the letter, Zola quickly read it. A subtle smile graced his lips as he absorbed the information. The letter outlined the discovery of Naruto, an enigmatic figure from another realm, and emphasized the potential he held as a formidable asset for Hydra. This could be the breakthrough we have been waiting for with Barnes, and now, Naruto in our hands, we will be unstoppable for global domination, Zola thought as he folded the letter and slipped it into his coat pocket. He then told his agent, "Draft a response expressing our gratitude. Notify them that we are prepared to relocate him to our undisclosed facility in Kazakhstan to undergo the Super Soldier program." The agent nodded and quickly departed the room to fulfill Zola's directive. In Kazakhstan, a week later, 4 doctors pushed Naruto into a room while strapping him to a stretcher. He fought back, asking, "Wait, where are you taking me? I gave you all the information you wanted, let me go." He screamed as he struggled to unbuckle himself. "Do not worry, everything will be fine," reassured one of the doctors in Japanese. They entered a room with 12 doctors as Naruto struggled to free himself. "Now that you have arrived with the subject, we can get started," the head doctor said as she adjusted her surgical gloves. When Naruto started struggling, 2 nurses grabbed him and held him down, while another nurse grabbed a mask to cover his face as the anesthesia gradually put him to sleep until he passed out. Surrounded by an abundance of state-of-the-art technology, Naruto lay unconscious on the operating table in the sterile glow of the hospital room. As they got ready to integrate the metal arm made of vibranium, the sterile medical team moved with precision. The lead surgeon, an expert in the field, skillfully coordinated the procedure. The room was filled with the soft beeping of monitors and the low hum of machinery as the team worked methodically. The vibranium arm was nearby, waiting to be attached. The lead surgeon made the first incision while being guided by cutting-edge technology. The vibranium arm, crafted with utmost precision, was positioned for seamless integration. While the surgeon performed her intricate surgery, assistants monitored Naruto's vital signs to ensure his stability. By carefully joining blood vessels and nerve endings, the surgical team was able to create a link between sophisticated prosthetics and natural tissue. The vibranium arm, a sleek and gleaming appendage, began to take shape, each component seamlessly aligning with Naruto's right anatomy. Due to the connection between Naruto's nervous system and the vibranium arm, Kurama's chakra and Naruto's chakra began to combine with the vibranium arm. The operating room hummed with the subtle energy of chakras as both were entwined with state-of-the-art technology. Hours passed in a symphony of medical expertise and cutting-edge technology. The lead surgeon, pleased with the meticulous work, signaled for the final adjustments. The vibranium arm, which was now fully integrated, responded to calibration tests by precisely flexing its articulated fingers. As Naruto awoke from anesthesia, the lead surgeon kept an eye out for any signs of discomfort or disorientation. "Take it slowly," the lead surgeon advised reassuringly. "Your new arm is a remarkable piece of technology. Given that it is tailored to your body." Even though he was still sleepy, Naruto experimented with his fingers, feeling the cool touch of the vibranium. "Are we ready to proceed to phases 2 and 3? As Arnim Zola was in the room during the procedure, the head doctor heard. "Sir, we recommend that the patient rest while his body heals and adjusts to his new arm." Still dazed from the anesthesia, Naruto glanced around the room and noticed Arnim Zola's gaze remained cold and calculating. His expression fell into confusion as he tried to make sense of what was going on. "Phase 2. What's going on?" he asked, his voice a mix of exhaustion and concern. Arnim Zola exchanged a glance with the chief physician. "You are going through a revolutionary procedure, Uzumaki Naruto. The vibranium arm is only the beginning. Phase 2 entails honing your skills and transforming you into a lethal super soldier for Hydra's interest and glory." As Naruto processed this information, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. The medical staff stood back and observed his reactions. Still getting used to the feel of his new right arm, Naruto paused. I did not agree to this. Arnim Zola chuckled as he dismissed Naruto's final statement. You and Bucky Barnes will play a crucial role in shaping the course of history. This will be for the greater good. Zola let out a sigh, watching as Naruto labored to break free of his bonds. So stop fighting and allow us to continue transforming you into a lethal assassin for our cause. He covered Naruto's face with the mask in an instant, causing a sedative to quickly take hold of him. Another head doctor issued a directive to the head nurse with a sense of clinical detachment. Go ahead and begin shock therapy. The head nurse nodded, her expression concealed by professionalism, and escorted Naruto to another room. Following the arm procedure, Naruto was placed in a chair with a machine restraining his arms. Bewilderment and terror overcame him as he gradually recovered consciousness. He looked around, unable to identify the strange apparatus approaching his head. A cluster of machines to his left displayed his vital signs and heartbeat, making him feel even more vulnerable. Before he could express his confusion, the doctor turned on the machine. It started to enclose Naruto's head, crackling electricity inside and giving off a sinister glow. Fear filled Naruto's eyes as the device settled on his head. Anticipating his distress, the doctor gave him a mouthpiece. You might need this, as this will be painful, the doctor said as he placed the device in Naruto's mouth. As the memory wiping process began, the mouthpiece muffled Naruto's screams, causing anguish to echo and combining with bone-chilling screams from outside the room to create an eerie soundtrack to his memories being erased. Inside the seal, with his massive paw trembling at the very foundation of the mental realm, Kurama, the mighty nine-tailed beast, jolted awake from his slumber in the empty mindscape. Confusion etched across his features as he was pushed towards the left side of the gate, his eyes narrowing in an attempt to understand the disturbance. What is going on? He wondered, his voice echoing throughout the mindscape. Recalling that he had been resting after expending a significant amount of chakra during his Jinchuriki's recent battle, Kurama decided to delve into Naruto's memories. Shock and disbelief painted his enormous face as he sorted through the memories. Anger slowly welled up within him as he uncovered the nefarious plot from Hydra to transform Naruto into a mindless killing machine. The revelation enraged Kurama, who attributed it to his own experiences as a tailed beast controlled by Madara. As he became more aware of their efforts to deprive Naruto of his identity and reduce him to a mere tool, his agitation increased. Damn you, fourth Hokage, and damn this cage. Frustrated by the limitations imposed by the seal that bound him, Kurama's thoughts were full of frustration. Desperation was written across his face as he tried to find a way to save Naruto from this dreadful fate. Though I may not be fond of the child, the idea of him being turned into an obedient tool makes my blood boil, Kurama snarled, reluctantly expressing worry for his Jinchuriki. He was angry and frustrated, but he knew that the seal bound him, rendering him helpless against the growing danger to Naruto's identity. Despite being physically unable to assist his Jinchuriki due to the Reaper's death seal, Kurama delved deeply into Naruto's memories, sifting through the vast tapestry of experiences that shaped the young ninja. He decided to save all of Naruto's memories in the hopes of one day using them to free his host from Hydra's grasp. Each cherished moment, every hardship, and every triumph, Kurama meticulously stored away, like precious gems hidden in the recesses of his vast mind. Brat, I will find a way to save you, Kurama swore, his words resonating in the emptiness of his red, fiery eyes. He vowed to protect Naruto's essence. Outside the seal, after hours of suffering, Naruto's voice finally stopped screaming, leaving the room in an eerie silence. Arnim Zola entered the room as the sounds of his suffering faded, his face showing no sympathy for what had transpired. Is the patient's memories clean? Zola inquired clinically. Yes, sir. one of the nurses reported, her tone crisp and efficient. His consciousness was successfully divided into two blank slates. The internal slate has been successfully trapped deep within his mind, while the outer slate is a blank canvas waiting to be sculpted into the ideal soldier. However, sir, some memories may resurface, in which case we will need to clean his mind, but we have provided him with enough voltage to recall his shinobi training. As he took in the news, Zola's satisfaction was palpable. Since Naruto has had no military training in our world, I will have some of our best operatives train him to become the perfect vessel, and after 3 years of intense training, we will inject him with the super soldier serum, he declared. With cold efficiency, Arnim Zola excused himself from the room, saying, "Now, if you will excuse me, I have important matters to attend to." As Naruto's erased memories remained silent, so did the ominous plan that would shape his future into a Hydra-designed weapon. As he awoke in the oppressive confines of a dimly lit, prison-like room, a heavy fog of disorientation enveloped Naruto's mind. Pain pulsed through his head, and echoes of his own name seemed elusive, slipping through his consciousness like sand through grasping fingers. His thoughts were racing to try and piece together the pieces of his identity, but the memories remained elusive, dancing just out of reach. A wave of panic rose inside of him as he struggled to make sense of the emptiness that had taken the place of his previous identity. A metallic echo of knocking interrupted his self-discovery. A Hydra soldier walked in, his stern expression providing no solace. Naruto felt his spine tingle at the soldier's detached tone of voice. "It is time for your session, Z3H9R5K. Is that my name?" he thought, but he knew in his heart that it was not, because there was still a void left by the familiar name gone, replaced by an enigmatic string of characters that brought him no comfort or sense of familiarity with his past. A thick silence fell over the facility as Naruto and the Hydra guard moved through the frigid hallways. The loss of knowing who he really was tore at him, leaving an unbridgeable hole. His gaze shifted to his metallic right arm in an effort to escape the suffocating thoughts. He studied the vibranium arm as if it were an alien relic, with a mix of curiosity and disinterest. The cool touch of the metal provided a temporary distraction from the unsettling emptiness of his forgotten past. The guard, in keeping with the stoic manner expected of a Hydra agent, saw Naruto's fascination with the metallic limb but said nothing. Naruto found himself shackled to a metal chair in a dimly lit room, surrounded by wires and monitors. He felt a sharp pain in his head as electrodes were attached to his temples. A man wearing a white coat and a mask stood in front of him, holding a clipboard and a remote control. "Subject Z3H9R5K, are you ready for your session?" the man asked in a detached voice. A screen flickered to life behind the man. Whispers and white noise combine with personal photos of Naruto's village and friends that they confiscated from his person prior to the procedure, creating an unsettling atmosphere. "Look at them, Subject Z3H9R5K, the man commanded, manipulating the remote and intensifying electric shocks. Despite the agony, Naruto couldn't tear his gaze away from the screen, where images of Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, Iruka, and other familiar faces flashed in front of him. Naruto's mind was poisoned by the man's voice, which weaved a tapestry of lies and propaganda. "They betrayed you. They are evil, enemies of Hydra. You must eradicate them from your memories," he declared, twisting the knob further, amplifying the disorienting shocks. As the pain intensified, Naruto's thoughts grew hazy, and his memories began to blur. Amidst the confusion, he vaguely recalled moments spent with his people, their laughter, tears, and adventures together. But the man's words kept echoing in his mind, seeding doubts and conflicts within him. A torrent of opposing feelings fought inside him: guilt, happiness, nostalgia, hatred, and resentment. False narratives were inserted into Naruto's vulnerable state as the man continued his psychological assault. Naruto's hold on reality grew weaker with every moment that went by, and the lies began to seep into his consciousness. He started seeing his people as traitors, his village corrupt, and Hydra as the only force capable of restoring order to the world. Naruto's true identity was erased as the man described his role as Hydra's submissive soldier, instilling in him a false sense of purpose. The man's voice droned on, repeating the same phrases, imprinting them deep into Naruto's subconscious. He used a trigger phrase to activate and deactivate Naruto's programming, alternating between normal and super soldier mode. Cut off one head, 2 more shall take its place, the man said, and Naruto's eyes glazed over, his expression becoming emotionless and obedient. When the man asked who he was, Naruto replied in a flat, monotone voice, "I am a weapon." "Who are your enemies?" the man queried. "Anyone who opposes Hydra," Naruto replied mechanically. "Who are your friends?" "Hydra." The man smiled wickedly, pleased with himself for successfully brainwashing Naruto. "Good. Very good. You are doing well, Subject Z3H9R5K, he praised, manipulating the strings of Naruto's altered reality. With a final press of a button, the screen went dark, leaving Naruto alone in the dimly lit room. The harsh fluorescent lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the cold, metallic surfaces. The man's last words, "Long live Hydra," lingered in the room. Trapped in a fabricated existence, Naruto's fractured memories struggled to surface, but the lies and propaganda held sway. Naruto's happy memories had been twisted and replaced with a false narrative that went against his inner truth. The lights flickered, as if to mock him, a cruel reminder of the darkness that now ruled his thoughts. They started molding him into the perfect killing machine after his treatment. 2 Hydra agents took Naruto from his cell and transported him to a large gymnasium. There, he saw several machines, equipment, and obstacles that looked like they were designed to train him. In addition, he noticed a tall, strong man wearing black uniforms, holding a stopwatch and a clipboard, and with a scarred face and shaved head. Subject Z3H9R5K, I'm Instructor Bullet Zoxilikov. Address me as, Sir. Over the next 4 weeks, I'll assess and enhance your strength, however, you are not allowed to enhance your strength with your chakra. Is that clear? Bullet's words were flat and unvarying. Yes, sir, Naruto replied impassively. His response conveyed a frigid indifference. Good. Follow me. We'll commence with the weights. Lift until I instruct you to stop. Understand? Bullet led Naruto to a rack of weights. Yes, sir, Naruto echoed emotionlessly, trailing behind. Instructor Zoxilikov locked eyes with Naruto, his gaze unyielding. Subject Z3H9R5K, as a Hydra super soldier, your training demands extraordinary strength. Let's begin with the fundamentals. Instructor Zoxilikov leads him to a rack of weights and orders him to lift a light set of dumbbells. When Naruto lifted the 85-pound weight with ease, Zoxilikov was unmoved and insisted that he lift ever larger weights until Naruto was clearly straining. Eventually, he managed to lift 115 pounds. Throughout the hour-long training session, Zoxilikov pushed Naruto to his limits, criticizing his form and technique and urging him to eliminate any trace of emotion from his performance. He gradually increases the difficulty and intensity of the exercises by making Naruto perform push-ups, lunges, and squats. Despite the grueling pace, Naruto shows remarkable resilience and strength, completing every exercise with precision and focus. Zoxilikov noted Naruto's already impressive performance for his age, but continues to push him harder, hoping to refine his raw strength into a finely tuned weapon. After working out for hours, Naruto wiped his brow, tired but not defeated. What's next, sir? The instructor's gaze remained unbothered. A 15-mile run. Naruto has trudged along the same path for several weeks on a desolate road, the landscape bare and unremarkable. His steps were echoing in a determined rhythm as he wore a 250-pound, heavy-weighted vest. In the distance, a jeep follows, the instructor's voice echoing through a loudspeaker. You're not even breaking a sweat, Z3H9R5K. Pathetic. You need to push yourself harder if you want to survive in this world. The words annoyed Naruto, but he did not show it. The jeep falls back, allowing Naruto to continue his trek. The road shimmers like molten lava as a result of the sun's ruthless glare. Naruto's legs ache, his muscles screaming for relief, but he ignores the pain, his mind centered on the goal. In the final stretch of the 15-mile run, the instructor's tone emerged. Not bad, Z3H9R5K. You've managed to keep the same pace for 15 miles. I might increase the distance for the rest of the week. Naruto maintained a stoic expression and did not respond. He knows better than to display any signs of weakness, relief, or joy. You have completed 3 full weeks of training, Z3H9R5K. Your strength and endurance have improved, but there is still a long way to go. Naruto was given permission to board the jeep and return to the base by the instructor, who remained firm. Naruto stumbled back to his small, one-bunk bedroom after taking a shower, the fatigue from his rigorous training still evident in every step. Closing his eyes, Naruto succumbed to the weight of exhaustion, the monotony of his surroundings fading as sleep claimed him. With inner Naruto, as Naruto walked through the surreal landscape of his mindscape, he found himself surrounded by a labyrinth of intertwining pipes, their metallic surfaces reflecting fragments of memories. A faint hum filled the air, echoing the energy coursing through the maze. He found himself in a dark corridor. He narrowed his eyes. Is this my mind? He thought in disgust as he walked forward. He kept walking for a few minutes and stopped seeing some light at the end of the corridor. It seemed to pull him towards it. Time to find out what is at the end. With that thought, he walked again, stopping only until the end. The room was enormous, with no way to locate the ceiling due to its sheer size. He surveyed his surroundings, seeing only black. The elephant in the room, however, was a large iron-barred door with a seal written on it. He gazed at the piece of paper. His azure eyes peered past the cage, searching for what he knew was inside. A low growl emanated from within, causing the hairs on the back of his neck to stand on end. Despite the cage separating him from the beast inside, Naruto steeled himself. Naruto stiffened as a massive red eye emerged from the darkness. They looked at him as if evaluating him. Even the great Biju was taken aback when Naruto asked a polite question, breaking the silence as the giant red eye studied him. Excuse me, who are you, and where am I, mister? Naruto inquired, attempting to maintain politeness in the surreal encounter. Kurama, the Nine Tails, expressed surprise in his thoughts. It seems like inner Naruto also lost his memories. You are currently within your own mindscape, Uzumaki Naruto. And as for myself, I am the Nine Tails. He explained. Watching Naruto sit in front of the cage, Kurama took note of Naruto's unusual lack of fear. My mindscape? Why am I inside my mind, Ninetails? He asked with a slight tilt of his head. When inner Naruto mentioned Kurama's unique appearance, the beast acknowledged that this Naruto was different from the brat he was used to. The young ninja's unexpected lack of fear intrigued Kurama. Why are you not scared of me? Kyubi then questioned. Despite the expected hostility, curiosity took a different direction inside of him. Naruto, frowning slightly, replied honestly, I do not know. I feel like I should, but I just don't. Kurama seemed intrigued and beckoned Naruto closer, saying, Come closer to the cage, Naruto. Do not worry, I will not harm you, Kurama said calmly. Upon noticing Naruto's slight hesitation, he quickly added. Hesitantly, Naruto complied, and as he drew near, Kurama extended a claw, gently tapping him on the forehead. Naruto experienced a floodgate of memories that came flooding back to him, one after the other, fitting together like a puzzle piece. Naruto sat on the ground, reliving the fragments of his recent memories, and he turned to look at Kurama with confused and worried eyes. What happened to me? All I remember is fighting Sasuke, colliding attacks, and feeling myself hitting hard snow. Grasping his head tightly, he attempted to assemble the shattered memories. When I woke up, I heard people speaking in a different language, and then one of them put a mask over my face, and then I saw darkness. As Naruto spoke, his hands trembled. They gave me a new metal arm before putting me in that awful chair. Kurama remained silent as he absorbed Naruto's words. I am not sure what they did to you, but they were able to split you in two halves, and you, the inner half, is now deep within your psyche, the Nine Tails explained, after which the young ninja fell silent for a moment. Naruto's breathing quickened, his chest tightening with anxiety. I can't be stuck in my own head while someone else is running around in my body. What if they hurt somebody or do something terrible? He couldn't shake off the feeling of helplessness that consumed him. With a hint of sympathy and empathy in his voice, Kurama responded by blowing a hot breath into Naruto's face. His eyes softened slightly. My powers are pretty limited due to this cursed seal, but if we are patient, we might find an opening for you to regain control of your body. He gave Naruto a ray of hope since he could relate to his host's fears because he had experienced similar feelings in the past. In an attempt to control his feelings, Naruto nodded resolutely. You're right, Ninetails. I've been through worse and come out on top. I refuse to let this destroy me. He got to his feet, confidently squaring his shoulders. Why are you helping me? With a suspicious expression on his face, Naruto questioned. I thought you despised all humans. With a trace of anger, Kurama snarled. Yes, I dislike you, but the thought of you becoming a pet, as I was for that bastard Uchiha, makes my blood boil. A glimpse of his buried resentment was shown by the Nine Tails. When Kurama admitted it, Naruto furrowed his brow, his face filled with surprise and understanding. I never thought I would say this, but I appreciate your assistance, even if it is for your own selfish motives. Kurama closed his eyes, indicating that he was going to nap. I would ask you to leave, but since we are stuck here, he said, go find somewhere to rest that is not right next to me. After a brief pause, Naruto nodded. Fine, I will find somewhere to rest. Though we may not like it, keep in mind that we are both stuck in here together. He emphasized the last part of his sentence, hoping Kurama would recognize the significance of their temporary alliance. As Naruto walked away, a sense of determination welled up within him. Whatever it took, he would overcome the obstacles in his way and take back control of his body. Though their relationship was tense, he and Kurama had one thing in common: they wanted to be freed from the mental prison they were in. 5 months later, Naruto stood in the middle of a grassy field, wearing a heavy vest that made movement difficult. He had been doing burpees for what seemed like hours, but he knew it was only 30 minutes. As he began another burpee round, Naruto felt the weight of the vest pulling him down. He was so tired that his legs trembled and his arms felt like lead pipes. However, he remained resolute. Naruto took a deep breath and concentrated on his technique as he started his set. He made a Herculean effort to push through the pain and exhaustion to complete each rep, using all of his remaining energy. The weighted vest made things difficult, but it also made him stronger, forcing him to dig deeper and find the strength he needed to persevere. Naruto could feel his adrenaline pumping as his set was coming to an end. He was drenched in sweat, and his heart was racing. But he persisted. Naruto could feel his muscles scream in protest as his set was coming to an end, pleading for a break. But he didn't let up. Instead, he summoned all of his remaining strength and finished strong, collapsing into a heap on the ground, completely exhausted. Naruto chose to carry on with his training by going on to another exercise after catching his breath. He made his way to a nearby set of pull-up bars and positioned himself underneath them. Reaching up, his fingers wrapped around the bar with a firm grip, his muscles from the previous workout still burning. After inhaling deeply, Naruto started to raise himself, tensing his back and arms. Each pull-up felt like a monumental struggle, with the weighted vest adding another layer of difficulty to the exercise. But Naruto refused to be defeated. As he powered through each repetition using the rhythm of his breathing, his muscles responded to the demands he was placing on them during each pull-up. After an hour of the same exercise, Naruto could feel his body beginning to burn from the familiar exertion. He could feel his muscles growing stronger and more adept at handling the challenges he was putting them through with each passing second. He did not give in to fatigue and forced himself to complete the set in perfect form. When Naruto eventually completed the final pull-up, his body gave way from fatigue, and he collapsed to the ground. Naruto discovered himself in a thick forest a few months later, encircled by tall trees and the sounds of the natural world. This time, his goal was to increase his speed and agility, two essential qualities of a super soldier. Wearing light training gear, he moved purposefully through the undergrowth, his senses acutely aware of what was around him. Naruto moved gracefully and precisely, his body responding to the obstacles in his path with every step. He maneuvered effortlessly through the dense foliage, dodging low-lying branches and vaulting over fallen logs. His body was a well-oiled machine that reacted with lightning-fast reflexes to every command. As Naruto dashed through the forest, his focus was fixed on the path in front of him, scanning the trees with his eyes. He used his chakra to increase his speed, pumping his legs furiously as he dodged and weaved through the vegetation. Sunlight filtered through the canopy overhead, creating dappled patterns of light and shadow on the forest floor. As he sent chakra shooting through his legs, Naruto forced himself to move more quickly, testing the limits of his reflexes and speed until his movements blurred. In a tiny clearing, Naruto eventually stopped after a string of furious sprints and evasive moves. His chest heaved as he caught his breath, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead. He then dashed towards the nearest tree and leapt, using his chakra to stick to the trunk. He shot up, his feet barely making contact with the bark as the wind tore past him. As he rose, Naruto's movements grew more fluid, his limbs gripping the rough bark with the ease of a clouded leopard. With the dexterity of a seasoned acrobat, he swung through the branches, showcasing his amazing athleticism. Naruto seemed to defy gravity with each tree he defeated due to his speed and agility. He leapt from one branch to the next, his movements becoming more erratic as he pushed himself to climb higher and faster with each leap. As Naruto continued his training, the forest became quieter, with the animals hiding in fear as they detected the presence of a predator. Naruto was in a room filled with the scent of gun oil and metal as he and his clones worked diligently on the disassembled weapons. It had been a year since he was taken by Hydra, and he had spent the past few weeks learning and being taught the intricacies of various firearms. His gaze was fixed on his sniper rifle, his hands moving with precision as he disassembled the weapon. He unscrewed the muzzle brake to reveal the finely rifled barrel underneath. He looked at the two front-locking lugs and noted how well made they were for maximum stability. He learned about the engineering behind the rifle's precise and controlled operation as he disassembled the recoil spring assembly. Meanwhile, one of his clones was carefully handling the MP40 Gratch pistols. The recoil spring assembly and barrel were visible after the slides were skillfully removed. Upon examining the firing pin within the slide, the clone ascertained that the firearm was reliant on a striker-fired mechanism for dependable and efficient ignition. The way he carefully disassembled every part, from the extractor to the trigger assembly, demonstrated not only his mechanical prowess but also his clone comprehension of the modular design of the pistol. The other clone of Naruto switched to the AVS-36 semi-automatic rifle and learned how to operate the complicated gas piston system. The short-stroke gas piston operation was disassembled with precision, revealing the rifle's dedication to improved reliability and reduced fouling. The rotating bolt, a work of art in engineering, was dissected, highlighting its role in the weapon's efficient locking mechanism. The MT's-25 shotgun was also subjected to the same careful procedure. Naruto's clone carefully removed each layer, revealing the inner workings of the shotgun's inertia-driven system. Taking off the trigger assembly exposed the heart of the gun, where the shotgun's renowned reliability was largely attributed to the rotating bolt head. The recoil spring and inertia spring, intricately designed, were handled with precision, acknowledging their collaborative contribution to the shotgun's seamless semi-automatic action. With the disassembled parts spread out on a blanket in front of them, Naruto and his clone set to work carefully piecing the parts back together. Each component was thoroughly inspected, cleaned, and reassembled. The clicks and locks echoed throughout the room, a testament to his growing knowledge of these weapons. Following his weapons cleaning and inspection, Naruto headed to the shooting range. Naruto lay prone on a grassy knoll beneath the shadow of a dense forest, his sniper rifle nestled against his shoulder. The air was still, and the only sounds were the distant rustling of leaves. Yoruichi, a seasoned marksman known for his accuracy, stood back and watched Naruto. Remember, Z3H9R5K, that patience and control are the keys to successful sniping. Your Mosin Nagant M91 30th SPU is a powerful tool, but it is useless if you do not know how to use it. Take a deep breath, concentrate, and let the rifle do the rest. Naruto adjusted the bipod beneath the rifle, securing it firmly to the ground for stability. Using the 3.5 XPU optic, he studied far-off targets and adjusted the zoom to get clear focus. Your optics are your eyes on the field. Learn to read the wind, measure distance, and take into account any variables. Precision is the difference between success and failure. With his binoculars in his hands, Yoruichi spoke. Naruto nodded, his attention shifting back to the line of targets in the treeline. Take your time. Take note of your breathing pattern. When you are ready, lightly squeeze the trigger. Allow the shot to surprise you rather than anticipate it. Naruto exhaled slowly after taking a deep breath and finding his rhythm. With each breath, his finger brushed against the trigger, and he felt his body relax. Good. Now, concentrate on the target. Imagine the trajectory of the bullet. Release when you are in tune with your surroundings. Naruto's eyes narrowed even more, his focus becoming even more intense. The Leupold optic revealed the delicate movements of leaves and branches, as well as other minute details. Naruto exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. The rifle roared to life, and a supersonic bullet hurtled towards its target. The high-velocity bullet from Naruto's sniper rifle created a kinetic force that transferred enormous energy to the target upon impact. The projectile shattered the surrounding material as it passed through, leaving a neat opening. The same was true for the exit wound. Excellent shot, Z3H9R5K. Precision is your friend. Go to your next target now while maintaining the same level of control. The instructor said that Naruto kept impressing him with his accuracy after more shooting at the range while peering through the binoculars. As the day progressed, Naruto's confidence grew with each successful shot. He learned to read the wind, compensate for distance, and consider variables such as humidity and temperature. Z3H9R5K, you have made great progress. Remember that a marksman is more than just a shooter, he is a thinker and observer. Keep honing your skills, and you will become a force to be reckoned with. His piercing eyes are fixed on the target at the very end of the firing range. With his feet shoulder-width apart, he stands with his hands lightly resting on the holstered pistol by his side. Naruto takes a deep breath to stabilize himself, his focus unwavering. He draws the pistol quickly from the holster. His fluid and precise movements are evidence of the many hours of training he has received. With a quick flick, he raises his wrist, takes aim, and fires at the target. The soldier fires, and the gun cracks sharply, reverberating throughout the range as the bullet strikes the target center with lethal accuracy. His eyes remain fixed on the target as he deftly reholsters his pistol and gives a satisfied nod. He repeats the process, drawing and firing quickly and precisely, each shot landing on its target with lethal intent. The sound of gunfire echoes through the range, a testament to his skill and precision. Naruto finishes the last round, exhales, and surveys the target. A dense cluster of bullet holes surrounds the bullseye, demonstrating his keen shooting eyes. His instructor, Yoruichi, watches with pride as Naruto demonstrates his mastery of the quick draw. Time skip. For the 45th time this month, Naruto scanned the dimly lit room, its walls plastered with faded training posters. The repetitive routine had etched every detail into his muscle memory: the cold metal of the door handles, the faint smell of gunpowder, and the rhythmic thud of his boots against the concrete floor. His clones moved alongside him, their movements synchronized like a well-practiced dance. Alpha Team, move in. Naruto's voice crackled over the comms. His clones responded instantly, fanning out across the room. Each clone was an extension of himself, a mirror image with the same determination etched into their eyes. Their faces were identical, resolute, unyielding. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed throughout the room. The exercise began with the sound of a flashbang grenade being thrown by one of his clones. Thumps reverberated as his clones engaged their opponents. The room became a symphony of chaos, with boots scuffling, weapons firing, and the occasional radio chatter. The training area was a maze of obstacles and challenges, with only dim lighting to illuminate it. Within seconds, the room devolved into chaos. His clones sprang into action, moving with calculated precision to clear each corner and alcove. Naruto gave them instructions to check corners over the comms, ensuring that every angle was covered and every threat neutralized. Each was armed with a different weapon. Some carried Tokarev TT-33 semi-automatic pistols, others carried Montana 27 double-barreled shotguns, but Naruto's primary weapon during the exercise was the SVT-40 semi-automatic rifle, which fired short bursts of suppressive fire. Smoke quickly filled the air, making visibility difficult. Their methodical clearance was accompanied by the distinct sound of muffled gunfire and the occasional report of bullet impact on enemy posters. The only sound was the soft rustling of their boots on the floor. Muffled gunfire echoed through the room as the clones moved like a pack of wolves, stalking their prey with ruthless efficiency. Tango at 3 o'clock. Engaging, reported one of his clones, their shots finding their mark with deadly accuracy. Bravo Team, secure the left flank, ordered main Naruto, orchestrating seamless communication among the clones. The clones moved with practiced precision, coordinating their movements while covering each other's backs. Clone 3 stated, hostile down, moving up. Bravo Team, stack up against that door. Prepare for a breach. Main Naruto motioned to his clones, and together, they approached the next door, their movements fluid and practiced. They reached the next door, a portal to uncertainty. Naruto gestured, and they stacked up with their weapons ready. Clone 4 adjusted for a better angle. Breach in 3, 2, 1, Clone 2 counted down. The door swung open, and Clone 4 hurled a flashbang. Charlie Team, potential hostiles on the balcony. Eyes up, Clone 7 alerted. The clone's gaze shifted upward, searching for threats. Clone 6 confirmed, balcony clear. Moving to assist Bravo. Approaching the corridor with caution, Clone 5 signaled an all clear. Corridor, secure up here. No sign of tangos, communicated Clone 5 as the clones moved around the room. Alpha Team, potential threat near the windows. Keep your eyes peeled, warned Clone 6. Amidst suppressed fire, Clone 3 reported, Tango neutralized. Alpha Team, utilize those crates for cover. Bravo, move along the wall, Naruto commanded, guiding their steps with tact. Clone 2 engaged a simulated enemy near the barrels, and the training room echoed with muffled shots. Taking advantage of the obstacles, the clones moved quickly. The suppressed shots echoed as the team engaged the simulated enemy near the barrels. The clones shot the enemy posters. Watch for crossfire. Charlie, provide cover fire from the elevated platform, instructed Naruto, emphasizing the importance of coordinated teamwork. Clone 6 ascended another platform, deploying Overwatch with the SVT-40, its suppressor ensuring a quiet vantage point. Overwatch is established. No tangos in sight, confirmed Clone 6 as the team adjusted to the intricacies of the room, using stairs to secure elevated positions. As they adapted to the room's complexities, the team used stairs to secure elevated positions that offered both advantages and vulnerabilities. Alpha, ascend to the 4th level. Bravo and Charlie, maintain cover down below, ordered Naruto. As they engaged targets from their new positions, their suppressors whispered once more, a soft hiss that marked the engagement of targets. The Alpha group temporarily split up, dividing and organizing to take the upper positions. As the suppressors engaged targets, they hissed once more from their new positions. The posters on the walls, mere paper targets, were transformed into adversaries in the minds of Naruto's clones. Each burst of fire from their weapons ripped through the images, shredding them like confetti, demonstrating their precision and control. As the last target fell, a silence settled over the room. Clone 4's voice broke the stillness, all rooms secured. The operation had gone flawlessly, with each clone performing their duties with the precision of a well-oiled machine. All teams regroup at the extraction point. Excellent work, everyone. Mission complete, Naruto declared. As the group reformed around Naruto, the dimly lit room changed. Naruto was temporarily blinded as bright illumination quickly replaced dim lighting. When his vision returned, he noticed the teacher in front of him, grinning broadly. Excellent performance, Z3H9R5K, Yoruichi said, his tone mixed with approval and acknowledgement as he clapped Naruto's back. We can now start combat training since you have greatly improved your gun handling in just 3 months. In the well-equipped martial arts studio, Naruto stood across from his instructor, anticipation coursing through his veins. The mat beneath their feet offered a firm yet forgiving foundation for the upcoming demonstration. Egil, the seasoned instructor, positioned himself with a commanding presence. His stance exuded expertise, and his eyes locked onto Naruto, assessing the young soldier's readiness. The other fighter mirrored Egil's posture, equally focused. All right, Z3H9R5K, since this is our first lesson in July, let us begin with a basic throw, Egil said, adopting a commanding and expert stance. Another fighter took the same stance, with his gaze fixed on Egil. The instructor moved smoothly into the first move, demonstrating proper footwork and grip. He demonstrated the perfect fusion of timing and technique that defined judo with grace and accuracy. The teacher motioned for Naruto to lead, saying, "Now it is your turn to do it yourself." Following the demonstration, Naruto became acquainted with the throw's mechanics. The teacher provided Naruto with immediate feedback as he performed the moves, allowing him to improve at every stage. Good. Now remember to use your hips for maximum leverage. It is all about balance and control, the instructor advised, observing Naruto's performance critically. They continued to practice, each move a fluid dance of technique and responsiveness. Egil alternated between teaching and modeling, making sure Naruto understood the fundamentals of judo. The sound of purposeful blows and shuffling feet filled the dojo as they executed their routine in perfect time. Following the instructor's movements closely, Naruto gained more knowledge of judo techniques with each repetition. Recognizing Naruto's progress, the instructor expanded the warrior's arsenal with new variations and counters. The seasoned instructor then took the lead, going over each of the complex techniques one by one. He started by going over the finer points of wrist control, hand placement, and the precise mechanics needed to perform ude garami, or arm lock, on an opponent and effectively immobilize their arm. Naruto's eyes followed every detail, soaking them up like a sponge in search of more water. "It's your turn," Egil declared, motioning for Naruto to step forward. The mat seemed to pulse beneath Naruto's feet as he prepared to execute the technique. But, before Naruto attempted the lock, Egil provided guidance to ensure he understood the nuances. Naruto began putting the lessons he had just learned into action, with the assistance of a skilled agent as his training partner. The controlled clicks and creaks of joints moving inside the lock filled the studio. The agent responded professionally, allowing Naruto to practice the arm lock under the instructor's watchful eye. He gave Naruto feedback, improving his technique and encouraging him to feel the nuances of the hold. The teacher introduced Seoi Nage, or shoulder throw, with ease. He executed the throw with finesse, emphasizing the importance of balance and momentum. Under his mentor's watchful eye, Naruto imitated the movements and absorbed the essence of the technique. The skilled instructor continued to teach judo in the martial arts studio, smoothly progressing to the next technique, Harai Goshi, or sweeping hip. With Harai Goshi, it's all about the hips, Egil explained, his voice carrying the wisdom of experience. Note how the motion begins at the base, moves through the hips, and ends with control. The instructor performed a demonstration of the technique with a training partner, demonstrating how a well-timed hip sweep could unbalance and decisively bring an opponent down. "Notice the weight distribution and the timing of the hip rotation," he said, highlighting each component of the sweeping motion. Naruto nodded. "I got it," he responded flatly. After completing the demonstration, the instructor turned to face Naruto. "Your turn now. Feel the movement and remember that it is more about skill than force." Naruto took a step forward, embodying the principles he had just witnessed, with a training partner at his ready. "Good. Z3H9R5K. Pay attention to the movement's fluidity. Let your hips lead the way," the teacher remarked, offering helpful pointers to improve the sweeping motion. "How does it feel? Are there challenges with the hip rotation?" he inquired. "It is a little tricky, but I can feel the difference when I get the timing right," Naruto said, mid-execution of the technique. Naruto was taken through a synthesis of disciplines by the experienced instructor, who combined the practical efficiency of Russian martial arts with the fluid kicks of Taekwondo. "How about we add some Taekwondo moves to our repertoire?" Egil proposed. "We will begin with a traditional roundhouse kick, modified for close quarters fighting." Egil stepped forward, demonstrating the modified kick. His legs sliced through the air, the movement precise yet adaptable. "This version," he explained, combines the flexibility required in Russian martial arts with the precision of Taekwondo. Naturally nimble, Naruto detected the controlled power and flexibility needed for the move, picking up on the subtleties of the modified roundhouse kick. The sound of the kick hitting a punching bag echoed throughout the studio. But Egil wasn't done. He shifted seamlessly into a spinning back kick, drawing from Sistema, a discipline known for fluidity and adaptability. "Incorporate Sistema's movements," he instructed, into the spinning back kick, Z3H9R5K. Naruto accepted the challenge, incorporating Sistema's emphasis on adaptability into his spinning back kick. His controlled body rotation demonstrated the fusion of two distinct martial arts disciplines. The instructor continued the fusion by showing off a Taekwondo jumping front kick that included parts of Sambo's throws. Combine the explosive power of Taekwondo jumping front kicks with Sambo's throwing techniques. It adds an unexpected twist to close combat. The training session unfolded, a symphony of throws and strikes. Each note was executed flawlessly, timed to perfection. After 8 hours, when he was satisfied with his progress, the instructor let him return to his room for the night. With his specially designed water-resistant gear on, Naruto leapt from a plank into the vast aquatic training area, the training facility humming with the sounds of water. The instructor, a seasoned operative with a background in underwater warfare, stood on a platform, overseeing the proceedings. Naruto dove into the cool depths as the water seemed to embrace him as he moved with fluid grace, executing modified strokes designed for stealth and efficiency. The instructor watched and provided feedback on how to improve Naruto's underwater mobility. It is critical that you move quietly. Use the water's natural resistance to your advantage, the instructor advised, emphasizing the need for stealth. With his strokes adjusted, Naruto reduced splashes and disturbances and vanished beneath the surface like a ghost. After 8 hours of traversing submerged obstacles, Naruto advanced to advanced maneuvers. The first task included twisted structures and hidden protrusions that resembled the remains of a submerged wreckage, simulating underwater debris. Taking a deep breath, Naruto approached the barrier with laser-like focus, his keen eyes identifying the imaginary threats. With deliberate care, he navigated the twisting labyrinth, staying clear of any entanglements. The designers of the training facility had designed tight passages to put Naruto's ability to navigate confined spaces with grace to the test. Wearing his water-resistant gear, Naruto moved through these cramped areas with the deliberateness and accuracy of a swordfish. The narrow hallways appeared to be no obstacle at all as he moved his body to fit the shapes of the virtual barriers. As Naruto advanced through the environment, he faced more difficulties, such as hidden openings that resembled underwater caverns, abrupt changes in water current that mirrored dynamic conditions, and submerged platforms that required quick transitions. Naruto found himself preparing for a halo jump from the legendary Petliak of Pay-8 in the final months of September 1945. The aircraft vibrated as he stood up. The seasoned jump master, donned in a classic military jumpsuit, approached Naruto. The instructor spoke through the helmet comms, "Get used to being this high in the air, because this will not be your last ride doing a halo jump." Naruto nodded slightly, the cool breeze brushing against his face. As the plane reached the proper altitude, Naruto readied himself for the jump in the dim light of the cabin lights, with the red light above the door indicating that the jump was about to happen. "Get ready. This is a halo jump, so timing is crucial," the instructor shouted over the roar of the engines. Anticipating the moment, Naruto, while waiting for the light to turn green, efficiently tightened his parachute, secured his mask, and adjusted his black goggles, the essentials for navigating the skies. The instructor gave the signal as the jump point approached, and Naruto leapt into the open sky. The sun was low on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, and as he started to descend, he could feel it casting a warm golden glow. He maneuvered expertly, the wind whipping past him, and at the exact elevation of 2,500 feet, the parachute opened with a pop. Following his training, Naruto switched directions while deftly navigating through the air for a few minutes using the lines. Rolling on his feet, Naruto neared the landing area, the last gusts of wind directing him downward. He was able to lessen the force of gravity and guarantee a safer touchdown by using his training and a precise landing technique. Now 12 years old, Naruto sat at his desk, staring at the teacher who stood in front of a big screen. After 1 year of intensive training, the higher-ups, not wanting to neglect Naruto's education, planned a learning session to provide Naruto with the advanced skills he would require for his upcoming missions. The teacher was a seasoned professional who had served as an undercover agent, espionage agent, hostage rescuer, infiltrator, and intelligence analyst. He had a wealth of experience and knowledge that he was willing to share with Naruto, who was focused on learning. The instructor pressed a button on a remote, saying, "Today, we will cover 5 topics: infiltration, hostage rescue, advanced espionage, intelligence analysis, and undercover work." The screen lit up with the word, infiltration. As the lessons began, he gave examples, tips, and warnings. In addition, he tested Naruto's comprehension and asked him questions. Naruto listened carefully and responded confidently. Despite the fact that the session lasted several hours, Naruto was not bored or tired. He gained a great deal of fresh and practical knowledge that he could utilize in his upcoming missions. After 3 long years, Naruto's body was finally ready to accept the Super Soldier Serum, now that he was 15 years old. Naruto, who was strapped to the cold, unyielding metal table, had 2 chilling metal pads pressed against his pectoral muscles and 2 more on his biceps. Cables and tubes slithered around him like snakes, the cold metal contrasting sharply with the warm blood pulsing through his veins. Despite his foreboding surroundings, he maintained a composed expression. Dr. Zola approached Naruto with an icy, menacing smile. "Are you ready, Naruto?" he inquired, his tone eager. "Yes, sir," Naruto responded calmly, his eyes focused. "Excellent," Dr. Zola exclaimed, his voice satisfied. Slowly, the serum seeped into Naruto's veins, filling his entire body like a river flowing to the sea. As a wave of heat and pain swept over him, Naruto gasped. He clenched his teeth, attempting to bear the pain. Dr. Zola pressed a button. Naruto found himself enclosed by a massive metal cylinder that descended from the ceiling. Dr. Zola watched on a monitor. He adjusted some knobs and levers. He clarified, "We are going to activate the serum that is already in your body." The chamber activated with a swift pull of a lever, surrounding Naruto in an otherworldly glow and amplifying the serum's effects. Vita rays were fired at him, causing his skin to burn and his muscles to spasm. Naruto groaned, feeling like his red blood cells were being torn apart. He wanted to scream, but he held back. When it was all over, Naruto came out of the chamber changed. He was taller and more imposing than the boy who had entered the chamber, standing at 6 feet 2 inches. His shoulders were broad and well defined, with prominent deltoids that gave him a strong, athletic appearance. Despite being smaller, his pectorals nevertheless had a sturdy, brick-like appearance. His arms were lean and muscular, and he had well-developed biceps that bulged beneath his skin. His triceps were visible, with striations that hinted at their strength. Despite his lean build, he had a powerful V-cut figure with a narrow waist and broad shoulders that resembled a Greek statue that came to life. Even the serratus anterior muscles, which are notoriously difficult to develop, were fully developed on both sides of his torso. They extended from his ribcage, giving him an imposing, battle-ready appearance. His whisker marks still remained, though they were lighter now, like battle scars, and his once boyish appearance had given way to a more mature but youthful face. He now possessed even more enhanced physical prowess and heightened mental abilities, a testament to the success of the experiment. Dr. Zola smiled callously as he observed another success of his experiment. As his voice echoed through the chamber, Naruto said, "Thank you, sir," in a deeper and more refined tone than before. Dr. Zola nodded, his smile turning into a smirk. "You are welcome, Naruto. You have proven that you are deserving of this gift. You have the potential to be the greatest tool of conflict ever created." Dr. Zola chuckled, his eyes gleaming with malice. "Now that you have finished the program, Naruto, you will help usher in a new world order." As Naruto listened carefully, his heart thumping in his chest, Zola went on, "Hydra is the future. Hydra is the only way to bring peace and order to this chaotic world. Cut off one head, 2 more shall take its place. And you, Naruto, will be the key to Hydra's victory. You are the ultimate super soldier." That particular phrase made Naruto's eyes glaze over. Scene change. After completing all of his enhanced training in Kazakhstan during the end of 1947, Arnim Zola ordered Naruto to return to northeast China, where he would be an influence in the Eastern Hemisphere and would impact that region. Naruto kneeled across from a stern-faced superior, intently listening to the debriefing of his first mission as a super soldier. A Chinese higher-up, Z3H9R5K, your first mission is crucial. Infiltrate the nuclear power reactors that supply electricity to Taiwan City. Use night vision goggles and a rifle with a silencer. Assassinate the guards and be wary of cameras. Your main objective is to reach the control room. Naruto nodded, absorbing the gravity of the situation. The higher up, use a keycard to enter the room. Plant a bomb on the main generator and time it to explode in 20 minutes. After that, proceed to the extraction point. A helicopter will be waiting for you. Scene change. Naruto stood in a brightly lit, high-tech preparation room, surrounded by a plethora of specialized gear and weapons. He effortlessly slips into a black Kevlar tactical vest, meticulously stocking each pocket of his matching tactical pants with an assortment of tools and devices. His night vision goggles were perched atop his forehead, their lenses shining as he adjusted them. As he prepares for the covert mission ahead, his face fades behind a black mask, concealing his identity. He then adjusted the tightness of a pair of black gloves to fit perfectly. Next, he extended his hand to grab a pair of earbuds and inserted them into his ears. Naruto adjusted them to the proper frequency. A technician hands Naruto a silenced German assault rifle, its black metal cool to the touch. Naruto shouldered the weapon. It felt surprisingly comfortable on his shoulder, and the weight was well balanced. He meticulously inspects the rifle, ensuring that every aspect of the weapon is in perfect working order. He expertly loaded the magazine, the distinctive sound of a round being chambered echoing in the room. Through the iron sights, he focused on the simulated enemy positions downrange, pop-up targets resembling enemy soldiers. His finger tightened on the curved trigger. "Remember your training," barked Technician Volkov, her gruff voice audible over the din of gunfire. Short, controlled bursts. Fire. Naruto squeezed the trigger, and the STG-44 coughed in response. A satisfyingly sharp crack echoed in his ears as a plume of smoke erupted from the barrel. The recoil wasn't nearly as strong as he anticipated, reacquiring his sight picture and firing again. As he gets ready, Naruto goes over the mission briefing in his head, taking in every detail. He tucks a small hacking device into his pants' hidden pocket. Naruto completes his outfit by tightening the straps of his utility belt, making the familiar weight of his tools a reassuring constant. Pouches secured, he slid the lock-picking kit into place beside the extra magazines. A quick check of the smoke grenades nestled in their pouch, essential for creating diversions. Lastly, he made adjustments to the little first aid kit that was hidden in the back. Naruto then picked up his short sword from the table and sheathed his wakizashi on his back. The final click of the coil line fastening into his harness signaled his readiness. Naruto gave the female technician a stoic nod before vanishing from the bright preparation area and entering the shadows. Naruto crouched in the darkness on a small unit riverine craft, the gentle hum of the engine drowned out by the rhythmic lapping of water against the hull. In the distance, the faint outline of Taiwan's mountainous island loomed against the inky canvas of the night sky. Naruto knelt beside the riverine craft, his gaze snagging on a small, waterproof bag strapped to its side. Unzipping it, he retrieved a pair of sleek swimming flippers. With a deft motion, he slid them on before turning off the watercraft. With its engine reduced to a barely perceptible hum, the riverine craft glides through the water. Naruto, flippers strapped on, crept to the edge of the vessel. The darkness, a thick cloak around him, swallowed his every move as he readied himself for the plunge. Only the gentle lapping of water against the hull broke the hushed silence. As the boat drew close to its designated spot, Naruto took a deep breath through his mask. With a silent push-off, he slipped into the water. The cool embrace of the sea enveloped him instantly. Powerful strokes propelled him forward, his form a dark blur beneath the inky surface. His destination? The shadowy outline of the island that loomed large in the distance. Naruto's form sways gracefully beneath the water's surface, glinting in the moonlight off of his all-black, water-resistant gear. As Naruto neared the Taiwanese coast, his flippers propelled him with the silent grace of a shark fin slicing through the midnight sea. On the Taiwanese coast, Naruto emerged from the water with ease, his water-resistant gear still clinging to the dark waves. The moment he touched land, he took off the flippers that had efficiently and soundlessly propelled him through the night. Hiding the flippers in a nearby bush, he ensured his tracks would remain unnoticed. Under the cloak of night, Naruto activated his nods with a click. The world blinked into an eerie green. He pulled them over his eyes and moved through the thick vegetation, turning the moonlit shadows into a finely detailed landscape. Naruto moved ghostly through the dense undergrowth of Taiwan. With his senses sharpened by the nods, he picked up the low humming of a far-off armed patrol on the hill. Swiftly and with calculated accuracy, he aimed his silenced STG-44 rifle up, which was fastened to his waist. Naruto squeezed the trigger. A muffled thud replaced the weapon's usual bark, the suppressor taming the sound into a whisper. The suppressed bullet pierced the air and struck the guard in the torso, hitting his lungs. Where the entry wound was, a small, dark puncture appeared beneath the surface of the guard's shirt. As the guard's chest cavity gave way, blood leaked from the gunshot wound. Naruto stood there, watching as the guard collapsed to the ground, lifeless. Naruto felt no remorse or regret following his first official kill, rather, he felt nothing. Naruto swiftly formed the hand signs for the shadow clone jutsu. A clone appeared beside him, dressed identically but lacking his weapon. Dispose of this mess, Naruto whispered, his gaze fixed on the dead guard sprawled on the ground. The clone nodded again, acknowledging the unspoken command. With a swirl of hand signs and a muttered incantation, Naruto enacted the henge jutsu. His features blurred and reformed, morphing into an exact replica of the fallen guard. The transformation was instantaneous, down to the guard's calloused hands and the set of his jaw. His rifle, which was strapped to his side, dissolved into a seemingly innocuous black band around his wrist, now disguised. Naruto's clone hefted the guard's body effortlessly, slinging it over his shoulder. "Do not forget this, boss," his clone whispered softly to the real Naruto, who was now indistinguishable from the guard as he prepared to vanish into the night and blend into the shadows. Naruto caught the earpiece and ID card of the guard and vanished into the night. Scene change. Naruto walked up to the secure facility's front gate checkpoint. His ID hung from his neck, and his uniform wore the same insignia as the guard he killed. He noticed two armed guards as he approached the checkpoint. Naruto strolled up to the guards, self-assured in his disguise. With a disarming smile, he presented the ID to the guard at the entrance. The guard looked at it briefly before nodding in approval. "Yichi Saihu do Jingran Yushu, everything seems in order," the guard remarked. Naruto used the opportunity to strike up a conversation, diverting attention away from the ID. "Ninao yi laba. Hey, rough night, huh?" With a knowing glance at the other guards, Naruto said, "Nin jie xie wanban gen lei ren." These late shifts can be a drag. The second guard, who initially focused on the ID, now joined the conversation. "Gaosu wo zenmi wei shi. Jie zhou wo iji shi hang liang ban dao. Zhi shang rang cafe baochi ludong, ni zadao ma." Tell me about it. All this week, I have been working double shifts. Just trying to keep the coffee flowing, you know. Naruto chuckled, seamlessly blending into the camaraderie. "Wo Tingdale. Judge Defang de Cafe He Kilai Ju Shang Shi Cafe Do Jansheng Jia Zherzoda. Shuo Dao Zali. Ni Zadao J Fujin Yu She Mi Hao de Cafe Dian Ma." I hear you. This place's coffee tastes like it was made by a connoisseur of the bean. Speaking of which, do you know of any good coffee shops around here? The guards were briefly distracted by the banter and exchanged recommendations for local coffee shops. While keeping the conversation light, Naruto subtly shifted the focus away from his presence. Naruto casually waved and nodded as he passed through the checkpoint, leaving the guards chatting about their favorite ways to get their caffeine fix. As he moved deeper into the complex, he became aware of the network of security cameras and fences. Unfazed, Naruto surveyed his surroundings, his keen eyes searching for weaknesses. Following intel's lead, the disguised soldier turned away from the busy main corridor and headed toward the back of the building. The air grew tense as he approached a secure door, the supposed location of the hidden bomb. He looked around to make sure the coast was clear before sliding his key card through the reader. A red light blinked on the panel, and an electronic beep echoed in the corridor, much to his dismay. Naruto's efforts had no effect on the door. His brow furrowed in frustration. I need to find someone with a higher clearance level to get in, he muttered to himself. Not wanting to draw attention or face unwanted questions, Naruto detoured to a nearby bar, surveying the surroundings to ensure no prying eyes lingered nearby. Satisfied with the apparent solitude, he slipped away. The establishment beckoned with its neon glow signs. Naruto sat at the bar and kept a low profile. The bartender, who was busy serving other patrons, only gave the former shinobi a sidelong glance. Naruto looked at the date in the newspaper and saw that it was November 2, 1947. Curious, he turned to the bartender and asked, Junshi Jingguan de Yi Nian, Bu Shi Ma. 1947 Nian Yu Na Xie Toutiao Xinwen. Quite a year, huh? What is making headlines in 1947? The bartender chuckled as he wiped a glass. Oh, 47 Nian, Shiwang Yu Tiaojian Bingkun. Shiji Zhengzai Kong Zanjiang Zhang Weifu, Xinwen Fanyingle Chongjian de Jinsheng. Oh, 47, a mix of hope and challenges. The world was recovering from the war, and the news reflected the rebuilding process. Naruto gestured towards the paper, pretending to be engrossed in it. Taman Zai Zali Tanlin Shenmi. What are they talking about in here? The bartender leaned in and flipped through the pages. N. Yuzanhu Chongjian Gongzhou, Guanyu Lianego de Taolun, Haiyu Maxier Jiwa. Lungjin Yi Kaishile. Dongzi Fang Ji Jian de Jinjiang Jushi Zhengzai Yunyang. Well, there are post-war reconstruction efforts, discussions about the United Nations, and the Marshall Plan. There's also the beginning of the Cold War, tensions are brewing between East and West. Ting Kilai Shang Shi Guanjian Shaik, it sounds like a pivotal time, Naruto said, nodding. The bartender nodded as he poured another drink. Juedui di. Renmin Shitu Liji Yijing Gabian de Shiji. J Bing Bu Rongyi, Dan Renmin Dui Zheng Meihao de Weilai Bao Qi Shiwang. Absolutely. People were trying to make sense of a changed world. It was not easy, but there was a sense of hope for a better future. With a quiet sip, Naruto blended into the background noise of the busy bar. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw someone he took to be a significant figure enter a room after drinking for a short while. Naruto quietly walked up some stairs after paying for his drink with a fake Taiwan yen before making his way to the room and knocking on the metal door. He lied to get inside after the door opened. The person at the door gave Naruto a suspicious look before nodding and letting him in. After closing his door, the officer turned his back on Naruto. In order to avoid alerting the other enemies within the facility, the super soldier realized he had to act quickly and stealthily. With a quick and silent movement, the Uzumaki grabbed and yanked the officer's ankle, causing him to lose his balance and fall to his stomach on the hard meat floor. Naruto raised the officer's chin before he could yell, his metal hand covering his mouth to drown out any potential screams. The officer was struck by the super soldier's wakizashi while Naruto stabbed him repeatedly and the officer made a barely audible gurgling sound as the blade pierced through his organ. His body finally stopped moving, his life force gradually vanishing, but his eyes widened in shock and pain. After taking his hand out of the officer's mouth, Naruto turned to make sure no one else had heard that little altercation. Quickly stealing the officer's key card and deftly tucking it into his vest, ensuring the key to his covert operation was securely concealed. Upon focusing on the lifeless form lying on the ground, Naruto's instinctive training began to take effect. His gaze darted around the space, landing on a locker leaning against the wall. His cybernetic arm supported the unconscious man's weight as he effortlessly lifted the body in one fluid motion. Then, with his other hand, Naruto quickly unlocked the locker to reveal a tiny compartment inside. The metal groan of the locker door was muffled in the quiet as he slipped the body inside and shut the locker, ensuring it was securely locked. The only proof of the struggle that had just taken place was a bloody puddle, which Naruto noticed. In order to conceal any evidence of the fight, he quickly found a large rug in the room and covered it. The super soldier then used the transformation jutsu hand gestures to adopt his target's appearance and demeanor. With the target's identity now assumed, Naruto returned to the building's back door. A green light blinked on the panel after Naruto used the key card, and an electronic beep echoed down the corridor as the heavy door opened. As he made his way through the maze-like hallways of the facility, Naruto undid the hinge and heard the noise of strong generators. With background noise drowning him out, he looked around the room. Naruto reached into his tactical pouch and pulled out 2 small bombs. He carefully placed them in strategic locations on the main generator and set the timers to detonate in 15 minutes. With the explosives in place, Naruto knew that his efforts would cause a significant disruption to the facility's operations, giving him an opportunity to escape undetected. Once the bombs were detonated, Naruto surveyed the room to ensure his efforts had gone unnoticed. Satisfied that his presence had gone unnoticed, he turned his attention to the next phase of his mission. Naruto applied chakra to the bottoms of his soles, allowing him to defy gravity and climb all the way to the roof of the facility. With a swift and fluid motion, he scaled the side of the building, his metallic arm providing additional support and strength as he ascended. Naruto drew a laser pen from his vest once he reached the rooftop, and he started to carve a human-sized circle in the darkness, the blue beam illuminating the room. As he exited the room with the grace of an apparition, he burst into a fluid run, leaping effortlessly from rooftop to rooftop. He sprinted across the rooftops with no sound due to his chakra-laden footsteps. A Sikorsky R-5 Dragonfly helicopter was waiting for Naruto at the assigned extraction point when he emerged from the shadows of the city. As he got closer to the heli, Naruto felt the wind from the rotor blades rustle his hair. The pilot acknowledged Naruto's arrival with a nod when he boarded the Dragonfly, the sleek, black helicopter designed for covert operations. When the Dragonfly lifted off from its hidden landing spot, they watched the city grow smaller beneath them as they ascended into the night sky. With a metallic clink, the door closed, sealing the super soldier and the pilot within the confines of the Dragonfly. Naruto watched the facility below him recede farther as the helicopter took off, its distinct silhouette vanishing into the foggy sky. The stillness of the night was broken by a loud explosion, and a fierce explosion erupted from a fierce ball of fire. Flames licked the air, casting a menacing glow on the atmosphere. The shockwave echoed through the air. The explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the area and smoke billowing into the heavens, concealing the remnants of what had once stood. After the helicopter took off, the night sky quickly turned orange and red, and then there were screams in the distance. While the radio was on, Naruto sat stoically in the tattoo artist's chair, his right metal prosthetic arm exposed, waiting for the intricate design to take shape. A Hydra tattoo artist used a unique tattoo machine that can draw on vibranium to carefully create a vibrant image on the metallic canvas. The sound of the tattoo machine buzzing filled the room. The image took shape with each precise stroke, a large orange nine-tailed fox, its tail swirling with dynamic energy. At the heart of the fox's body, a striking red Soviet star emerged. Naruto watched intently as the iconic nine-tailed fox and the Soviet star seamlessly blended on his vibranium prosthetic limb. As this was going on, They were listening to the news. Breaking news. Massive explosion rocks nuclear power plant in Taiwan. News anchor. Good evening, I'm Jae-hoon Kim, bringing you breaking news. We recently learned of a massive explosion that occurred at a nuclear power plant in Taiwan. Field reporter. Yes, Jae-hoon, I'm here at the scene, and the situation is incredibly tense. Emergency crews are on the scene around the clock dealing with the aftermath of what appears to be a catastrophic event in the generator room. Field reporter. Witnesses describe a plume of smoke that can be seen for miles. Authorities have issued evacuation orders for nearby residents, emphasizing the importance of prioritizing safety. News anchor. Absolutely, safety is paramount. Do we have any idea what caused the explosion? Field reporter. It's still unclear what triggered the explosion. Authorities are on the scene conducting an investigation, and we are awaiting an official statement. Field reporter. I've been speaking with residents who are understandably concerned. The magnitude of this incident calls into question the safety of the region's nuclear facilities. News anchor. Thank you, Priya Sharma, for those updates. We will continue to follow this story and provide you with the most recent updates as they become available. Stay tuned for more updates on this breaking news. When the news finished and the regular program resumed, Naruto remembered his mission report to the higher-ups. Flashback. Naruto was kneeled in front of the higher-ups as a figure stepped forward, demanding a situation report. Sitrep. Came the stern voice. The mission was successful, and most of it went as planned, Naruto answered with a tone that betrayed his sense of achievement. Were there any issues during the mission? The higher-up inquired, scrutinizing the details. Only one, sir. When I summon my clones, they don't come with their own gun or ammunition, Naruto admitted, acknowledging a problem. A council member addressed the issue. We will send one of our top scientists to collaborate with you on developing chakra-infused variant ammunition. Naruto was kneeling obediently before his masters. Higher up Hydra. The war between nationalists and communists began with the collapse of the First United Front in the mid-1920s. Higher up Hydra. The nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek first seemed to be unified. But internal strife weakened their front against the communists. Hydra higher up. The promising northern expedition of 1926-1928 for the nationalists was marred by subsequent purges and the Shanghai Massacre, revealing internal power struggles. Hydra higher up 4. The rural populace supported the communists when they adopted guerrilla tactics under Mao Zedong's leadership. Hydra higher up. The Long March in the early 1930s showcased the communists' resilience. After escaping nationalist forces, they regrouped and solidified their base, a testament to their strategic prowess. A higher-ranking Hydra, Z3H9R5K, you have been assigned to continue supporting Mao Zedong in the ongoing civil war. Ensure that our interests are aligned with the outcome, and gather information on what is happening. Hydra's future objectives rely heavily on the balance of power in China. Scene change. Under the moonlit sky, Naruto skillfully used the transformation jutsu to gain access to the roof, concealing himself on a high rooftop overlooking the clandestine building. His form lay motionless, the cold touch of the M40 sniper rifle pressed against his cheek, its metal reflecting the ethereal glow of the night. Naruto's objective was to neutralize Li Wei-chen, who was one of the key financiers supporting the nationalist movement in Imperial China. His blue eyes narrowed as he gazed down at the building where his target lurked. The whispering wind through the rooftop ruffled Naruto's long, unkempt blonde hair as he adjusted the scope. He began to take deep breaths and became one with the environment like the wind. Naruto's expression hardened as he observed his target having a conversation with someone through the scope. His fingers delicately danced over the trigger, mindful of every slight adjustment required for an accurate shot. Scene change. Mr. Zhang was having a private conversation with the stoic businessman, Li Wei Chen, in the lavish boardroom of his corporate headquarters. The lavish, opulent setting provided an unobstructed view of the city through its uncovered windows. Li Wei Chen. Zhang Shansheng, Nin Zai Zhexi Shiqing Sheng de Ziqi Ji Guan Zongyao. Minzu Zui Huadong Suyao Daliang Zijin Kanang Yushao. Mr. Zhang, your support in these matters is crucial. Nationalist activities require significant funding to be effective. Mr. Zhang, a shrewd investor known for his calculated